Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Max, and today's video I am talking about Skull Merchant, the new killer on the PTB in DBD, and my initial impressions and overall just pros, cons, things that I would recommend to change. The TLDR, if you guys just want a quick opinion, she needs some work. Buffs more than nerfs. I don't think there's anything in her kit to really nerf. She feels incomplete. Granted, it's the PTB, so I know things are probably going to be better, but from usually the content change that I see from PTB to the live servers, it's just like number tweaking more than the actual gameplay component. And a lot of things about her just don't feel good. I'm not going to go into her power. A lot of people have made videos as like general outlines of what she does or her perks. So I'm here just to kind of talk about my pros and cons of her as a killer. I haven't played the Knight, so there's a little bit of that issue, because I feel like that's the most comparative character. But after playing about 20 games on the PTB, I will say a good pro is that she feels very fluid. Her kit doesn't feel clunky in the sense that there is a very clear and smooth transition between deploying a drone or checking your radar mid-chase. Those things I feel like are actually really good. I think that they actually made her kit feel a lot better, in my opinion, just in that regard. It doesn't feel like you're wasting time trying to manage multiple things going on in your kit. So that I think is an absolute plus, in my opinion, and I think they did a very good job with that. Her design, it's all up to speculation. Some people are saying this is as if they had like some licensing issues with like Predator and they were trying to manage and scrap together a character to fit the bill, and this was it. I don't know. I'd believe it, but I like her design. I like the concept of her as a killer. I think it's pretty cool. And looking at the little behind the scenes video they dropped, a unique explanation to the design elements of the game, which I can appreciate and will say is really cool. That's really about it in terms of pros. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot of things I wish I could see, and I don't want to be negative without constructive criticism, so I will do my best to try and elaborate on things I like / don't like and what I actually would like to see change. Non-gameplay components, really quick. Her chase music is not good. Granted, a lot of people's chase music isn't anything spectacular. Hers, in my opinion, just sounds like a washing machine going off with some other background noise, and it doesn't feel like you're being chased or chasing anything. It's just, in my opinion, it's not good chase music. It doesn't give me that sense of dread and fear. I would like to see a little bit more oomph being put into her chase music, but that's something small. Second thing, not really a gameplay component, her Mori, it's not good. You'll see the first one in this game, it's bugged. The guy DCs mid-game, so I lose my HUD and the screen goes black. That's probably just a PTB thing, but the next two survivors / characters, I get a Mori on them, so you'll be able to see it. She just stands around for a while and then stabs them. Like, the drone doesn't really do anything. It just doesn't feel very unique. I don't really see a lot in her character coming out in the Mori, where a lot of other characters' Moris, even if it's not like a character design thing, at least they're interesting to watch, and this one not so much. That's all like the cosmetic and random background things. Now, to address the core gameplay, oh, you know what? No. I'm sorry. There's another pro here. Another pro that, even though it's not really a good thing for gameplay from like a killer perspective, what I like that they did is drones will automatically retract within roughly like 20 meters of a hook, and you can't put drones down 20 or of a hooked survivor. And you can't put a drone down within that range of a hook survivor. And that's really good because it takes a lot of pressure off of the possibility of proxy / camping a hook. This way someone isn't stuck trying to go for an unhook where they'll be exposed, and you could just do a lot better with it. So I think that was a good change slash a good component of her kit that they left in. Because of that objective control, there's basically like two ways to use her drones. Base kit, I think it's best to be dropped on objectives. You'll see in my games, I usually put a drone in front of a generator to monitor if someone is on it. Or what I've had the most success with was just Devour Hope and putting a drone right on top of it. It can be right on top of a hex totem. So basically at that point, you either get the information they're on your totem or you delay them. It's basically either you delay them and get the information they're there, but they're not exposed, or they rush through it trying to get the totem done, but you 100% know they're exposed because they're in the range for a long enough duration trying to clear a totem. That's what I've had the most success with using her drones without specific add-ons. Certain add-ons give you benefit while a survivor activated them or they're in radius, and then that would benefit a quote-unquote play style or using your drones more aggressively mid-chase, where you would drop it in front of a tile set, and now if they choose to stay around it, not only are they going to get exposed from the base kit effect, but you know, the Eerie add-on gives you like a 5% haste, which is pretty crazy. You can make survivors exhausted for a couple seconds. You can make them like oblivious, blind. I think there's another status effect one. Skill checks are harder. Skill check one's probably for gens, but the other status effect ones I think are really good mid-chase, but she runs into the same like Knight issue, which once again, I haven't played Knight, so this is kind of a analogy that I can't make 100%, but she runs into that issue of the best way to kind of negate her power is to just W key away. And if the best component of her kit, like mechanically, is to just walk away from her power, that doesn't feel good. I would say probably the activation time of her drones could go a little bit down, and maybe they get exposed a little bit quicker. Only because really, unless they are actively trying to get greedy playing in the same tile set, you're not going to get anyone exposed. The people I got exposed in this game, and this is like, not necessarily map dependent, but one of the good things I guess you could say is that, sorry, the game cuts out. This is PTB issue. One of the good things about her kit is that the guards slash drones, because they both kind of have this effect, are a cylindrical detection radius rather than like spherical. So if I put it on the first floor of one of these buildings in Haddonfield, when someone was in basement for House of Pain, or if they're on like the second floor of one of the other buildings, you can actually see them. Here you'll see the Mori. This is like a full one where you don't have any of the animation cut out, but you could see there's nothing special about it. Just drone scanning, she stabs, drops them, and that's it. That doesn't feel anything special to me. So I kind of wish I could see something a little bit different, but granted, that animation is a lot of work. I understand we might just be with that one for a while. But yeah, her drones are really cool, and I think on these levels in particular, these maps that have like multi-story components, the active range can definitely mess with people. But at the same time, the scouting mode, I believe those little beams that you see rotating around, you need to break those beams in order for it to go active again, which means that once they're in scouting mode, line of sight is required for them to go active. So drones like this that you deploy on a floor and someone is on a different floor of the same building slash area, they just won't ever activate again once they're done, because you're not going to really get line of sight on a different floor of the building. So maybe possibilities on making that active drone happen more frequently. Maybe make it like 3 or 4 beams rotating instead of just 2, so it could trigger more frequently. Maybe the whole other floor thing is to avoid frustrating situations where I can't do anything about Shack because they put the drone in basement, and now it's like if I choose to go to Shack, there's no way I'm going to walk into basement to get rid of it, so now I'm dealing with it. I don't even know if you can put it in basement, don't quote me on that, but like center Shack, I know you can. And I you know, the final component to really take away from all this, and I didn't really talk about it yet, but it's in my opinion, the one component that sums up her kit perfectly. She is a good information utility killer with no way to capitalize on the information. I think that's my biggest complaint. I can get a lot of information based on looking at the auras of the drones being yellow or white, which ones are active, which ones are scouting. I can use my tracker to find where people are, if they're claw trapped, if they're in that radius. But I'm just a 115 movement speed trying to run over to the other side of the map to deal with it. And in that component, like, one of the best things I can do as a killer is to like find a good 3-gen, set up your drones on there, and just control it. Just give up one half of the map, but lock down your half of the map with information to a area where you can usually pretty quickly access all the things that you're monitoring. And I know the Knight has a very grindy 3-gen playstyle that you can do with certain perks. I feel like Skull Merchant can do the same. I didn't do that. You can see my build is actually just Devour Hope and a lot of oblivious / undetectable components. And I wanted to try and do some funky shenanigans with her, essentially with her undetectable component of her drone, but it didn't really feel like it worked. My only logic behind it was your terror radius is so big, they hear you walking up before you become undetectable in your drone range. So with something like Trail of Torment or Tinkerer, I can sneak up into that drone range and get a few cheeky swings. And I absolutely, in a few games, got some grabs from Tinkerer. I got some things like that, but I don't know if that's anything to do with the drones or me just being undetectable, and that's like a good perk. So it's an up and down. I can't really be for certain knowing if it was the drone idea or just her perks. And sorry for the weird transition. I'm just switching between two games because I wanted to keep talking about it a little bit more. This game in particular, I was able to kind of, you'll see me, like, I'm basically patrolling my Devour Hope to make sure it doesn't go away. And in doing so, I could secure a decent amount of stacks to get a good amount of value from it. But that's just kind of like my biggest thing. It's like, I wish she had a better way to capitalize on her information, because comparatively with someone like Hag, when your little hex seal thing on the ground goes off, you can look in that direction, get close enough, and blink to it. So not only did you get the information, you had the mobility to capitalize on said information. There's nothing else about her kit besides being a 115% movement speed M1 killer with a small chance to occasionally expose some people. I think a good change, and you know, obviously there's a whole other component. This is probably doing another too many hoops for some people, but just a concept as an idea. If someone has a claw trap on them, if you pull up your radar, you can maybe have like an interact to lock onto that individual. And maybe if you do that, like, I don't know, partially like battery extends, or I think probably the better thing what should be doing is like you get additional movement speed in the direction towards that survivor. It's not a great buff. It's not going to fix some like core issues that I think exist for her, but I will say I think that is like that type of quote unquote capitalizing on your information I would like to see in her kit. Like I said, she's got lots of information, and I think once you start to learn the whole aura reading of your drones, when you have that little like tilt animation that a drone came back to you, and like monitoring, okay, which one just came back, where did someone, either, you know, in that case, you could check your just claw information, so you don't really need to look around, but just that kind of good indicator. I would like to see ideally some movement speed or lethality in combination with information, not just standing underneath a drone. Since, you know, another option too, obviously this AI might be a little bit more difficult, but like the way that Nemesis has zombies that, you know, they'll like walk around doing whatever, and then they find someone and then they'll turn and slowly walk at them. I wonder if the drones, I think it'd be really cool if they kind of do the same thing where you set up a drone, and if it's active, if it detects anyone in that radius, it will just slowly start gliding towards them. Sure, it denies the whole possibility of locking down generators. Sure, you pull it away from loops and they get stuck in corners. I understand that that's probably not a good feeling, but maybe if you make that like an add-on, like a possibility that the drones can move and track people, but they don't, maybe instead they're not actually exposed, but now they just, you can, monitor them better. Just another idea that I thought could be really cool. Just a way to maintain the information, maintain a little bit of pressure on survivors. There's a purple add-on that lets you see the auras of survivors when they're inside of your radius. I see some people saying that should be something base kit. Don't know if that's too strong or too weak, but it definitely helps because sure, you have undetectable for the occasional mind games, but being able to actually kind of do a little bit more in those situations, like winning a mind game because you know that that person is there would be good, but at the same time you can just do that with your perks. Like you could see in this build, I'm not running good perks by any means. I genuinely think that if I was running some more slowdown stuff and I wanted to control a 3-gen, it could be very boring and objectively would be getting me more wins than how I was playing. But I had success. I had success with this build, and I wanted to highlight that as a sure. I mean, the 3-gen control build is probably better. It is probably more effective, and I'm not going to deny that. But it's not the only way to play her to minimal success. But it's kind of the same idea, where instead of controlling the generators, I'm somewhat controlling the gens, but I'm also controlling my hex totem that's letting me one-shot them, which is kind of my whole idea of like, I need the extra lethality, because the exposed rarely happened in like the 20 or so games that I had played. I really think I only got a handful, like I can count on a single hand how many times I got it down from them being exposed. And that's really it. I am very hopeful, and I would like to play this killer more. Like I said, the design, the whole technology element, I'm a big fan of, and I would like to see a little bit more work done for this killer to be in a better spot. But as it currently stands, her kit leaves a good chunk to be desired, and honestly, I think the information component is great, but the biggest issue is you have no real way to capitalize on the information. Like you can see right here, this is basically the only reason why I'm able to get this exposed hit is because I forced them, or I'm patrolling my Devour Hope so closely, I'm not letting them get it down. And that's the kind of like patrolling you would need to do. Limit yourself to a portion of the map, and you can ensure success with the killer. I don't like that playstyle. I hope that wasn't a intended like core component to the gameplay for behavior, because a lot of people were complaining about that for the night. And I will just say I think that's not a healthy game idea, to have a lot of people like being stuck in this long game, grind it out, just, possibility of, until you basically run them out of resources. You run them out of their pallets that they could run to safely. You eventually can grind them out so they don't have enough heals. If they have a circle of healing, they just keep resetting across the map. But if you grind it out enough, the killer always wins. And I think Skull Merchant can get to that point, and I don't want her to get to that point. So I think there should be some components to encourage the killer to more proactively follow people around and use the drones in a non-defensive manner. Granted, that's probably the best way to do it for her, so I'm not even going to say it's a good or bad thing. Once again, you can see right here, like I'm babysitting my Devour Hope, and that's the only reason I'm getting kills. It works because people know they need to get rid of it, but it's not a good play style. And granted, I found success. It's not a 3-gen control, but she needs work. Not only from a gameplay perspective, but just from a design choice. I want to see a little bit more improvement to her chase music. I would like to see improvements to her Mori. Honestly, if they did that, at least the killer feels polished. Even if they're weak, they're polished, which is, I think, always a good thing to consider. But even right now, I can't say the killer feels very like well developed, which is why I think a lot of people had the Dollar Tree Predator like Wish.com equivalent of trying to scrap together a project. That's really what people were saying, and I unfortunately can kind of agree with that. I see the sentiment for why people felt that way. It was kind of a long-winded rant. I'm sorry about that, but hopefully somewhere in there was enough constructive components to what I was talking about. Thank you guys for watching the videos. I doubt anyone made it this far because I think collectively we got into the right mindset of she needs some love. Borderline needs a rework. I don't want to go that far. We haven't given her nearly enough time to figure out how to play her best, but absolutely, if this detection style for the drones is matching something like the Knight, we have an idea of what's going to be effective to play. And like you can see right here, my totem finally goes down. I get the kill, so now that it's a 3v1, the game's basically locked down. But I was locked into Mori animation. Even if I'm on that corner of Dead Dog and I just got the killer instinct notification that someone was under there, I don't get there in time. And sure, there's the counterplay. I walked away. They can do the totem, but I personally feel there should be something else behind it. Sorry for the long video. I hope that you found some of this helpful. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of her, if you've played her, if you've seen some gameplay of her, if you want me to go over things like her perks, her add-ons, other things. I am continuing to play her onto the PTB for as long as she will be available. Honestly, I might stop because I think I have a good grasp of how she'll be, and I want to see the changes upcoming. But I am hopeful. I will do my best to try and make her viable so that she isn't just a very boring killer to play. And any suggestions you guys give me as feedback, I would greatly appreciate. So, take care, have a wonderful weekend, or whenever you watch this, have a wonderful rest of your day, and take it easy. Peace.